Who remembers the BJ and Bill show all those years ago on WOLZ? Well, many have said they missed the show, and guess what? They're back. Welcome to the BJ and Bill podcast.
Welcome to BJ and Bill, the podcast, a part of the Podcast Playground Network. Please give us that 5-star review. We would so much appreciate it. You can do that on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And now, welcome to episode 84 as we start with a moment of silence. It's been just not a good finals for the teams that I tell you, I'm leaving sports. My teams just can't do it.
Well, I think we'll give you the numbers here in a moment, but I think what you're saying is that the BJ Odom curse is still in place, because I remember back in the football season, I would tell you, we would talk about which teams we wanted to win on any given Sunday. And you would say, well, then you should bet just for the other team, because I'm picking, I'm picking I'm picking Tampa Bay to beat the Jets or whatever. And it's like, so you should probably just take the Jets. And if you would have done that, folks, you probably would be retired and living in, the Caribbean by now. So just saying.
I'm just, I'm more of a basketball person than anything else. I do enjoy football.
Right.
But I mean, I was hoping Caitlin would take Iowa all the way.
Right.
I was hoping Edie, would take the Purdue Boilermakers all the way. I was hoping that Steph Curry could do something with the Warriors. I know that's not over yet, but
that's not over yet.
But I'm thinking it might as well be over.
So it's been a rough sports week for BJ Odom and his heart, by the way, which we'll talk about a lot more coming up later in the show, because apparently his heart doesn't really go so well with these ups and downs in the sporting world. It's kind of tough for him.
At least the game on Monday night,
right,
kept my heart rate at a halfway decent speed. The first half, the drugs were really working.
Right.
But after
we're talking about the men's final, the men's NCAA basketball final, which was Monday night. Yes.
Yeah, because, the drugs, kind of keep my heart rate down.
Right.
Does that seem to be what the problem was? I could have done without the drugs on Monday night after the first half.
Could have slept through it.
Oh, I'm just, come on, Steph, at least throw me a bone when we get to the NBA finals or when we get to the NBA playoffs. At least get through the play-in tournament. Come on, Steph, you can do it for me.
They got to get by. They're going to probably play the Lakers, right?
Probably.
And LeBron is going to be LeBron. And so it's going to be interesting. But
and they're playing against each other, not in the play-in tournament, but a regular season game here in just a few.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll watch for that.
So
yeah.
That should be decent.
I'm happy to see that you made it through Monday evening with the men's game. I mean, I got to be honest that yes, I watched the ladies' game too. By the way, I sent you, I didn't make it up, but like the Babylon Bee or something like that had that post on Facebook that I reposted to you through Facebook Messenger on how the Catholic Church has just made Caitlin Clark a saint for making women's basketball watchable again. So, and it was an interesting game. It could have been closer, that the ladies' game. The men's game was interesting only maybe for the first 10 minutes or so.
I mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
I have never, ever, and I apologize to all the ladies out there.
Right.
But I have never, ever in my life watched an entire women's basketball game, whether it be in the WNBA or college basketball for women. Never have I watched a whole game.
So that final was that was it. That was the first time you watched a women's game.
Oh, no. I started watching Caitlin towards the middle of the season.
Oh, okay.
And I was watching whole games all the way till the end of the season.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
And I was,
you don't have to apologize. I mean, I think this year was last year was good with LSU and, Angel Reese and all of that. And so, but this year, yeah, they kicked it up a notch, as Emerald Lagasse would say. They kicked it up a notch. Yeah.
She's, probably going to go first in the draft here later this week. And she's probably going to make about $187,000. I would think that big three to play with the men is looking a whole lot better at $5 million, but she's making it up in endorsements.
Of course she is, but she could make the endorsement money no matter who she plays with. I think she should do the big three, and I think Shaq should come back. Her and Shaq and somebody else together, the three of them would be must-see TV. And I don't know if I've said that before. I might have included that on the Shaq Fu Radio blog, which I write. But Shaq, Caitlin, and pick somebody. Doesn't matter. Pick anybody. I would watch that. I would watch all of those games. That would be awesome. So anyway, if you really don't know, by the way, what the big three is, it's a basketball kind of league, 3-on-3 of some former stars and some wannabe stars and some, popular names. It's entertaining. It's not great basketball. It's very entertaining. Yes.
Well, it's kind of like the UFL or whatever.
XFL, UFL,
whatever they call it.
Whatever they are.
Yeah, I would say that's, pretty close. But going back to the men's now, he still did a pretty good job as far as making the points. They just didn't get anything from anybody else, Purdue. But,
you're talking about Edey. You're talking about Zach Edey.
But I still think they must have studied a lot of film on him.
Yes.
Because I think they really contained the whole team.
Yes.
And they knew what they were getting into, and they knew how to counter-program it.
Counter-programming, old radio saying there. Very good, Mr. Odom. Absolutely. But you're right. And we watched, if you watched the Final Four, the two, I was going to say play-in games, but, the semifinals, when, Purdue beat NC State handily, wasn't really that big of a deal. UConn beat Alabama handily, wasn't really that big of a deal. And I kind of thought, okay, they're evenly matched, they're whatever. And who knew that UConn had another gear waiting? They hadn't shifted into high gear yet. And then they came into this game and it's like, where did that come from? That was my reaction anyway. I've been watching that game going, wow, who knew? Because, Purdue, they played pretty much the same game. Get the ball to the big guy, let him do his thing. And like you said, they had a secret sauce. UConn had some secret sauce somewhere that it's like, okay, we know how this works. We're gonna box them up a little bit or something. I don't know what they did because I'm not a strategist. I enjoy watching the games and I see what's going on. But when these color commentator guys are going, oh, look, this guy's boxing this, doing this, cutting this off. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know. I'm just watching.
They're one of the few teams, though, that did not double team.
No. Well, they also had their, what's his name? Klingon?
Yeah,
I don't know. Klingon.
I see nothing at all.
That's so, yeah, they had, the big fella for UConn. It was an interesting battle most of the time, but not, for some reason, it didn't shape up, I think, the way we were all thinking and hoping it was going to shape up. I'm just making that up. I'm not a strategist or a color, a commentator who really knows that much all about it, but I watched it and I knew it. And so, yeah, I got it. So there you go. So final score in the end, 75-60. Not even that close. He's going to cry for a little bit now, folks.
You had to remind me again.
I didn't remind you. We haven't told the final score yet. So I was just 75-60 was the final.
I know, but I was trying to block it out of my mind.
Trying to forget it. Trying to block it out.
But, again, I did what I always do.
Which is? I picked the wrong team.
No, well, yeah, that too. But I loved watching Edey play this year.
Yes.
He was just a fun player to watch.
Yes.
Caitlin Clark, fun player to watch.
Terrific.
Steph Curry, fun player to watch.
Only for the past 20 years.
But I mean, that's what I like I said, when I was in Indiana, I was an Indiana Hurricane Hoosier, an IU fan. But I jumped on this bandwagon early in the season because I was enjoying watching Zach Edey, or I would have probably only watched maybe a handful of Purdue games, but I watched more than a handful, I would say.
Okay. Fair enough.
And so now, I jumped on the bandwagon and I got derailed.
Jumped on the hay wagon and you got dumped out.
Yep.
Well, you're not alone. Believe me, you're not alone. I wonder what the Vegas line was on that.
7.
Oh, it was 7?
And
Wow.
someone, well, let's just say I know a person.
Oh?
Yep. They didn't make the 7.
They didn't know. What do you mean they didn't make the 7? They covered the spread, as we say in the gambling world.
No, I'm talking about they had to win by 7. You could have taken Purdue and Purdue could have lost by 6 and you would have still won the bet.
Wait a minute. Are you saying Purdue was a 7-point favorite?
No.
No. UConn was a 7-point favorite.
Yeah. So you could have picked,
right.
You could have picked Purdue and they could have lost by 6.
Yes.
And you would have still won money.
That's correct. That's how gambling works, BJ. I don't know if you were familiar with that or not.
60, 75. I can do the math.
Yes.
That's a little more than 6.
In the gambling world, we say they covered the spread. They covered the spread. So yes, you could have bet on UConn and given the 7 points, as they say, given the 7 points, and you're still winning money. And so somebody in Vegas, well, lots of somebodies in Vegas right now are they are strolling casually with a big smirk on their face, walking up to the sports betting window to cash in those winning tickets. I hope you have a good night. Enjoy the steak.
Of course, this is why I don't bet, because I know whoever I would bet for, I would be very much in debt right now.
You would be very much in debt. Yes, you would. And yeah, you don't have that kind of money to be thrown around. You got to spend that on like medical bills.
I know. Speaking of medical bills, I'm off to the hospital after we get done with this podcast.
I know. So yes, we're kind of recording at some odd hours here this week, but we wanted to, get everything in on time. So we'll talk more about your health later in the show here. I'm guessing, because there's a lot going on, but yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. So there you go. All right. So what will you do for the rest of you've got the NBA. I mean, we have the NBA. We'll always have Paris.
See, I'm sorry. Haters can hate me. I don't get into the Olympics.
No, I don't either. I was going to say I'll watch some things, but if it's on, maybe. But Summer Olympics, what would I watch in the Summer Olympics? I don't know. I'm not a track and field. I think that stuff's boring. Track and field and swimming sometimes is interesting, but not really. There's a guy like Michael Phelps or something.
There's no hockey.
There's no hockey.
There's no basketball.
Yes, there is.
Not in the Summer Olympics. Is it in the summer?
I don't remember. That's how bad I am. I don't remember if it's summer or winter. I thought it was summer, but I don't know that.
You could be right, because I could probably, as many Olympic events as I've watched,
right,
is probably as many women's basketball games as I've watched up to this year.
And bottom line, not many.
Yeah.
Right. Not many.
I tell you, I've said this in the past. I'm a big TV person.
Right.
And so I'm probably watching something else, although the TV schedule gets really whacked out when they play the Olympics, because most people besides me.
Right.
So, Netflix is really going to help me out, and maybe Disney Plus.
Right.
Those are the stations that I'll probably have on enjoying movies. And of course, the Hallmark Channel.
The Hallmark Channel, of course.
Never lets me down.
Watching the Hallmark Channel. Oh. A few of our a few of I'm in this senior citizens singles group in Gainesville here where I live, and we play pickle. I joined the group so I could play pickleball a couple of times a week, but they do other things. They have like game nights, and they go to brunch and all that. A few of us went to see Dune 2 over the weekend. And if you're a sci-fi fan, it's as good as advertised. If you're not, and you're not really all that familiar with it, of course, it's the second part of the movie. So it literally picks up where the first one kind of left off. So if you don't know it, you'll be a little bit lost, but not bad. The story holds up whether or not. And the payoff is worth it. I mean, it's big and loud and beautiful and all that kind of crazy stuff, but I enjoyed it a lot, but I knew I would. So it's okay.
I think what you should do next time you go to a meeting.
Yes.
Suggest the night of Spin the Bottle.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that there's some scary women that you might not want
I'm saying I think I'll pass on that one, Mr. Odom. Thank you very much.
Just a thought.
They're lovely. They are lovely, wonderful people. The men and women of the group. They are lovely, wonderful people. I'm not sure I'm the youngest, but it's close. But yeah, no bottle spinning for me, please. No, thank you. No.
Oh,
stop it.
Very disappointed in you.
Are you done with your basketball crying? Are you done with your crocodile tears?
No, I'll quit crying maybe. And
okay.
I went all in on this. You saw me on Facebook. I'm posting Boilermaker logos. I'm all the way in. I'm putting it on, Instagram. I'm all the way there.
I know. And
everybody's
now you're all the way out.
Making fun of me now.
They will. You have that to look forward to.
Before we end our sports talk.
Yes.
After watching the game, of course, I know, as people grow, they can grow and they can learn from mistakes.
I hope so.
But I know in the past I've heard Edey, it might be a tough road. He'll probably get drafted, but it'll probably be a tough road for him in the NBA.
I would say so, yeah. I would agree with that.
After watching, Monday night's game, I would say he might have a hard time in the NBA.
He might. I mean, who's that guy in San Antonio? That Victor Wembanyama or Wemby, they call him. Just super tall, thin, strong kid, but he's got some skills. And I don't know if this guy, if Edey, he's just a big, tall kid, which makes dunking the basketball really easy. But in the NBA, yeah, you're right. There's some guys that might throw a few elbows around there and step in his way. So I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, we covered all the sports things. And I remember last week when we were talking about all of the big games coming up and everything, and you were feeling really excited and you were saying, oh, my heart is beating. It's like crazy and all of that. And it turns out it kind of was.
Well, I knew that when the show was going on.
Oh, you did? You knew there was something going wrong when we were recording the show. So you were sitting there knowing you were going to be going to the hospital.
No, I did not know that.
Oh, okay.
So let me just give you the breakdown. I've had in and out of AFib for a while.
Which is what? Which is like an irregular heartbeat, right?
It's like, it's almost like, you're a drummer.
Right.
And you're using a double bass.
That means nothing to me, but okay.
Okay, instead of like one beat, you're going with 2 feet. So you got boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's kind of like doing double time.
Got it.
I don't understand the whole thing. Let's just say it's double time.
Double time for the heart.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I haven't had this because I had the ablation. An ablation is where, and I don't want to gross anyone out, but what they do, they go in with a catheter-like thing. And they go into your heart and they see it's the heart electrician.
Aha.
He goes in there with his tool belt and everything else. And he goes, okay, see this part of the heart? It's short circuiting. It's sending out electric pulses. So it like zaps it and burns it. And it goes and it does that in a couple places. And then when you're done, they go, okay, hopefully we got it all. And your AFib is going to be under control.
Right.
So my AFib was under control. Now, when I went to the basketball game with my son, I felt a little weird at the game, but I was thinking also,
Right.
I didn't really feel like I was an AFib then, but I
Right.
said, I think it's just because we had to walk to the stadium,
Sure.
had to walk to our seats, had to climb some stairs. I thought, okay, I just feel a little weird here. Because I feel a little weird every now and again.
Don't we all?
So everything was fine after the game. The next night we went and, saw the Purdue game. And I felt my heart racing a little bit, but I said, it's the excitement of the game.
Right.
Which
right.
it very well could have been, because I've watched Warriors games and other games, like during this AFib and no AFib period. And I felt the heartbeat a little faster.
Right.
But again, I think it would anyway if I was, everything was normal. So I never thought anything about it. The next morning I woke up though, and I could feel it just going da-doom, 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 da-doom. I'm going, okay, this isn't good. So I had some old AFib medicine.
Oh boy.
That was like 2 years old. So I popped that, kind of calmed down a little bit, popped another one later, because, you usually take like 2 or 3 a day.
I don't know.
Well, you do. And so I popped another one.
I trust you.
And things settled down. I go, okay, maybe it's kicked out. And it did. You could tell it was kicked out of AFib. And so I, go along with the day and everything is cool. And then I wake up again Monday morning. Guess what?
Same.
It's back.
Right.
And so, I took another one of those pills actually before we did our podcast. And then, we got done and I'm going, it's still going on. Let me take another one. And then, of course, now I'm at the point where it's slowed down, but it's still an AFib, because you can actually check. If you have an iWatch, you can actually check. It says sinus rhythm probably for you. The EKG on an iWatch. Do you have one?
I do not. And I've thought about getting one. Maybe I'll have to now.
Yeah, the EKG. And, you put your finger just right there on the little stem and you hold it there for like 30 seconds. And it does like a little EKG.
Cool.
And it was saying I was in AFib.
Oh, wow.
So I knew I was in AFib. So after it didn't really get out of AFib, it slowed down quite a bit, but it was still an AFib. I called and they said, "Oh, you need to come in."
Right.
So I went in and, of course, spent the entire week at TGH.
Well, how many nights were you actually checked in?
I went in Monday.
Right.
And I walked out Friday.
Really? You were there all week?
Yes.
Wow. I guess I didn't remember that, because you and I texted several times during the week and checking in on you there. I didn't know it was Friday, but you were there for the entire week. Yikes. A guest of TGH. So, their award-winning service. And
if it would have been just the AFib,
right,
I would have been there probably 2 days.
Got it.
They had everything under control. Well, then they wanted to, I actually got that on Wednesday morning. So I'd have probably been out Wednesday afternoon, but they put in this is really weird.
Oh,
underneath my skin. I mean, I don't know. You probably never wore one either, but I know a lot of people have, when you have some heart issues and they just kind of want to check what's going on, they'll put what they call a heart monitor on you.
Yeah.
Where, they stick the things and you walk around for a week and it reads your heart. And then,
I've seen you. I remember back in the day, you wearing them. Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, now,
instead
of they wouldn't do this for the average Joe who was having a little heart issue.
But
no, they would. But for us, us professional heart people,
right?
They installed. They like cut a little moon out on my chest. Stuck this thing in about the size of a paper clip, and it had like a tail, like it was some kind of weird fish creature. And they poked it into my body.
And
then they took the skin and glued it. I haven't seen it yet, because you're supposed to leave this Band-Aid on for a week.
Okay.
As it heals.
Okay.
And they glued it shut. And now there's a box that lays next to my bed.
Right.
And every night between 2 and 4, it uploads my daily, whatever happened on my heart for the entire day.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
have a little fishy thing in my
Your chest.
It's not, because I know people, oh, that's what they call that, a pacemaker. No, this is not a pacemaker.
No, no, you don't need that.
This is just a thing that totally reads what your heart is doing.
Wow.
It's called an IRL, I believe.
In real life.
Yeah.
That's
in doctor's terms, it's an IRL.
IRL.
It's
Okay,
a recording
fine.
device is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to gross anybody out, but I have seen your chest and it's got more marks and scars and cuts. I mean, it's got more stuff on it than like a road map in rural Texas.
I always say, who needs tattoos?
Right. You're sure yours cost a hell of a lot more.
They're not pretty either, but they're all
not
over.
Real pretty. No, they're not works of art. Well, if you're a heart surgeon, they're a work of art.
Yes.
I mean, if you are a heart doctor or a heart surgeon or a whatever, that's like, whoo, look at that. That's worth $1 million right there. Wow. Okay. So you've only been home, I should say, been home since Fridays, because we record this, we record these on, whatever, early in the week. So there you go.
Yeah. So Friday night, I wanted to watch the girls' game, but I didn't because I went right to sleep.
Right.
And then Saturday, we pretty much stayed at home. I did nothing. Yesterday, we went out for a little lunch. And we also picked up some groceries.
Gotcha.
I was pretty wore out by the time I got home.
I'll bet. Yeah. So Tampa General was good to you, of course. They love you, and you're on their frequent flyer miles and all that.
I've never done this.
Uh-oh.
And I hate to do this.
Oh.
But there is one major complaint about TGH, which I thought I would never, ever do.
Tampa General Hospital.
But it is to the point where it must be said.
Uh-oh, here it comes, folks.
When I first started going there like 22 years ago.
When they were working out of a Quonset hut somewhere?
Yeah. The food was excellent.
Oh.
I don't want to say it's 5-star.
Yeah, no.
But it was good.
It was good food. Hospital food. Wow.
Yeah, it was good hospital food. And then about maybe 10, 11 years into it, the food kind of
nosedive.
But it wasn't bad. It just went down. So it wasn't as good as it used to be.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, it didn't get as good as it was in the beginning, but it got better again. This trip, it wasn't even edible.
Oh.
It was even delivered like when you take something home
right
from a restaurant and they give you a little styrofoam box.
Right.
That's what my food was coming in.
I mean, don't they know who you are? I mean, come on.
I was ready to call Uber Eats.
That's funny. When I lived back in Sarasota 3, 4, 5 years ago, for a while there, I did Bite Squad, delivering food for Bite Squad. And it was not unusual to deliver food to hospitals, nursing homes, hospice, the whole thing. Sometimes it was for the staff, but no, sometimes, when nursing homes and stuff like that, absolutely would deliver pizzas and subs and stuff like that to patients at the nursing home or at the hospital. Absolutely. Yeah. You should have called Uber Eats. What the heck?
Yeah. I was not a happy camper. And then of course, after I was there, for my 3 days and I should have been out.
Right.
The night before Wednesday, when I'm supposed to get out after they put the thing in my chest, I'm supposed to be able to walk out. Everything is good. My nurse has to open their mouth. Well, he ran a temperature of 99.3. I checked it one time and it was 100 degrees one time. And then my fever was fine the next morning, but that was what they call a low grade temperature.
Right.
So now I had like 3 phlebotomists come in, take about 1 million gallons of blood.
Took it all.
Because they wanted to find out what I may have had. So far, nothing.
Good.
So then I thought, okay, they're going to let me out Thursday.
Right.
We got this all taken care of. Thursday, I guess overnight, and I have sleep apnea, but I had oxygen in my nose,
Oh, yeah. You and me both.
So they go, and I didn't have, I don't know, but I was breathing rapidly and my oxygen level was low.
Uh-huh.
So I go, yeah, because I haven't been out of this bed. I've been lying down and I'm resting, trying to sleep because I haven't slept for 4 freaking days. Yeah, my oxygen level is going to be low.
Right.
So then they go, well, you've got to see a lung specialist now.
Oh boy.
So this is Friday. Okay, that's it.
Right.
I said, I don't care if you send, because they go, we can't send you home. If your oxygen goes low, we just can't. And I go, tell you what, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I don't care if you send me home on an oxygen tank. I don't care what you do, but this food, and I even said it, this food sucks. And I'm leaving.
And by the way, they're probably charging you $200 a day for that.
Oh my God. If they charged me 50 cents for that, they overcharged. They might as well just brought a dog of Alpo in. I think it would have been more delicious than what they gave me. But so they said, we're going to give you a lung test to make sure, your oxygen is high.
Right.
So when he comes in, I'm setting up in the chair. They have me in a chair. And so my oxygen level was like, it was like 96, 97. He goes, that's perfect. He goes, that's great. I go, I know. He goes, okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to have you get up and march. Because I said, we're going to have to walk up and down the hallways. How do we do this? He goes, no, all you got to do is march in place. I said, I can do that.
Cool.
I get up, but back in my mind, I go, oh my God, this oxygen is going to go down. And it's going to be a total hell. And they're going to say, we can't let you go. And so I start marching and my oxygen level goes up. I go up to like 98.
There you go. Perfect.
And he goes, you passed. This was flying colors. And I go, thank you very much. And then they let me go after that.
But now, you were there literally all week. Did you? I'm just curious, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but did you see the bill? Do you ever see the full bill for
Well,
something?
I probably will. I probably will at one point in time.
Oh, you haven't yet. Right. They don't hand you. It's not like a hotel. They don't slide it under the door when you're in the morning that you're leaving.
Yeah. And another thing I think that was more irritating about this trip than normal, I usually go to the transplant floor.
Right.
First night I was in ER, but I was in a room, which was nice, and it had a television. The second night I spent, and it was kind of funny when they took me on, I said, oh, am I a trauma patient? They rolled me into the trauma center.
Oh.
And they go, no, we have a room back here that we can put you in. I think because I'm a transplant patient and I do have a low immune system, they like to keep me isolated.
They want to keep you. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So they took me to a room there. And then finally that night, like Tuesday night, they took me to a real honest to God room, but it wasn't in the transplant floor or the heart floor.
Right. Wasn't in the penthouse.
Yeah. Right. It was a private room but it wasn't like you said, it wasn't a penthouse, it wasn't the nice rooms I'm used to. And I was also because in the nice rooms I'm used to, the heart monitors attached to you, like the old ones that you remember me in, where you can get up, walk around, do all the things you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was tethered to a machine everywhere I was, so that made life a bitch too.
Wow.
I didn't even have enough cord to get to the bathroom, so I had to call somebody.
Oh, no.
And then they would unplug me and put me into a little like it was a little purse, like a little box. It was kind of like, the boxes or monitors. So I'd carry that, but I'd still have 25 feet of cord that I took with me also. So this time was more of a pain in the ass than any time I've ever been in Tampa General.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it.
I'm alive. And
of course, you're still with us. And we appreciate that.
We're recording this before it comes out on Wednesday. We're recording this on a late Monday. That's how we knew this score of the men's game.
Right. Right.
But also, I went through the eclipse and I'm still alive.
Right. Eclipse, big deal. I mean, how many people, how many doomsdayers out there were saying it's the end of the world again? In fact, we're coming up on break time here. So, and I can hear the lawnmower guys, because it's always lawnmower day here at my apartment for some reason. I got to go close that, refill coffee. We got to take a break. So lots to talk about. Boy, what a busy day. What a busy day. We'll be right back. So stand by and we will be right back. Welcome back. I'm Bill Stevens. That's BJ Odom. This is BJ and Bill, the podcast. Feel free to leave us that 5-star review. We definitely appreciate it. Wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all those things. And if you want, you can surf over to see our Facebook page. Just do a search. Same thing, BJ and Bill podcast. Remember, as I always say, spell out the and, A-N-D, BJ and Bill podcast. So there you go. So, right. And here we are again, ready and happy to report that we survived the eclipse. I'm so happy for that, because everybody was saying it was the end of the world again.
I didn't even know that last night when we were talking to my daughter, and she goes, I don't know if I'm going to go to school tomorrow. The world's supposed to end. And I said, what? And she goes, well, that's the conspiracy theories, the eclipse and the world is going to end. And I go, again?
Right. It did not. We're happy and here to report the world is still the same screwed up place it was 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago. Whenever you were hearing this, you can rest assured that the world did not end because you're hearing this. So there you go. It's good. I was curious, not curious. I was interested to read that that the eclipse was actually bigger than the Super Bowl by a lot, and was bigger than, I hate to say this, Swifties, but the eclipse was bigger than Taylor Swift's tour this year. I know, right?
But just think about it.
Right.
You didn't have to buy a ticket. You could just go outside.
But lots and lots and lots of people traveled to cities that were along the path. And I should have done it, but I didn't. And I mean, literally, I've mentioned a couple of times, I have two cousins in Ohio, the two ladies that are right at my age. I mean, we're almost exactly the same age. And one of them lived, I mean, her house was literally under the 100% line. I looked on the map. I should have gone to visit, but I did not. So anyway, Americans, it is projected, of course, the number's still coming in. Americans projected to have spent $6 billion injected into the U.S. economy to take in the eclipse in various places. We're talking about travel, hotels, tickets to viewing parties. Delta Airlines had 2 flights specially following the path of the eclipse, so you could look out of your window. Of course, you had to be on one side of the plane. I don't know. Anyway, Delta had 2 flights that were especially following the path of the eclipse.
Oh, I saw this on the news.
What's that?
The pilots were learning how to fly one way curvature, so you would all see it.
Wow.
And fly curvature the other way.
Wow.
So the other side, yeah, they had it all. They had like it all planned out, how they were making their little curves so people could see it.
So they are thinking $6 billion in the economy because of people, like I said, hotels, travel, airline flights, parties, et cetera, et cetera. Poor Taylor Swift only made 5.7 for her whole tour, and she worked a year for that. Oh.
But she would have made it if she had had to have the special glasses to watch.
Probably. If she had the Swifty glasses. Absolutely right. So, I mean, for example, the parks and area around Niagara Falls, Buffalo, New York, right under the 100% line, they're still adding up the numbers, but might have had a million people in the area, a million in that area for one day. Typically, Niagara Falls gets 14 million people in a year. So it was a busy day.
Can you tell me, is something wrong with me? Because of all the things that are going on in the world, this is the thing that least excite me.
I got it. Yeah, it didn't really. Well, and of course, I mean, we were in Florida. It happened, and it was worth the watch. But was it like the greatest thing since Taylor Swift coming to your town? No, it wasn't. So I get it.
I did something else in my lifetime enough to worry about going blind that I don't need to look up into the sky and make it go all the way. Okay? You know what I'm talking about here.
Don't make me laugh like that when I have my mouth full of coffee. Yes, you've done enough things in your life where people have told you you'll go blind if you keep doing it. And here you are. Wow.
That's like the day my dad walked in and said, son, you continue to do that, you're going to go blind. I had to say, Dad, I'm over here.
One of the oldest stand-up lines of all time. And it's still funny. So I'm having a little eye problem myself. I'm wondering if I need to be careful here. This week, I'm having some spots in my eyes. It's like,
some floaters? Floaters?
Yes, but and they told me now I had just to do. All right, so what is this? The medical episode?
I think what it was. I think you were looking at the eclipse today. That's what I think it is.
Maybe that's it. No, it's been going on for a few days. It's been actually happening for 3 or 4 days. I had the laser cataract surgery 2 years ago, January. So it's been 24, 26. It's been 26 months, 27 months. And they said that this was a possibility, but just literally in the past week, only one eye. And it's not like the floaters that you normally see. It's like a lot. It's like snow. It's like black snow almost. And somebody said, ooh, that's bad. And I'm like, well, it's not like it's getting in my way of my vision. But if I go outside, with the bright light and I kind of, glance off to the side, you can, how you see the floater thing happen. So I think I'm calling an eye doctor this week.
You probably should.
I don't know.
You know what that is now, don't you? You want to know what most floaters are?
What?
Little tiny droplets of blood.
Right. I've heard that. And that's why they were very emphatic. They were very like, when I had the surgery, it's like, if you see this after the surgery, call us right back, kind of like you, call us right back, come back in. But it's been 2 years. So I'm like, okay, is this just like pollen or I know it's not pollen or dust. I know what you're saying. It's like you said, blood droplets. Probably. I don't know. I don't want to get into the whole medical thing because this show has been medical history. It's like been an episode of General Hospital here, Tampa General Hospital. So there you go.
Yeah, because we talked about other, we did talk. Well, never mind. I'm going to leave that alone now that I went there once. I'm not going to go there again.
Did your dad? I'm over here joke. You've been what has it been 40 years you've been doing that joke?
I think so.
It's still funny. Okay, good.
That's what you call in comedy a stock line. And
right.
I swear to God, this was like a long time ago, though. Because sometimes, anymore, when I go to a comedy show, I watch all the comedians.
Right.
But I dropped that line because that was way back in the days that I was an opener. That was probably that was even when we were the BJ and Bill show. So it was probably a good 35 years ago. I dropped that line, as the opener, as the MC opener act. The middle must not have heard me open it. So, I mean, drop it. So they dropped it.
Oh, same joke, two guys, same show.
Oh, yeah. And then I don't know if it was the headliner doing it because we both did it, but he dropped it. And by the time he dropped it, everybody's going, what? I've heard that joke before.
What? Oh, at least I was going to say he got a bigger laugh than the both of you because he was the headliner. But no, everybody went, yeah, we got it.
Yeah. It was, it kind of really felt it. I got the big laugh. The second guy got a medium laugh, and the headliner didn't hardly get a hee. And he's probably going, what the hell? That line's always works.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. What if you're the headliner and you hear somebody do your joke or your bit or something like that?
Usually you yell at. Well, most times in comedy, you were supposed to do your own material.
Of course.
And that's all, especially by the time you're a headliner, you shouldn't be doing stock jokes. If you're doing stock jokes, you're either an opener who's just getting started, or
Right.
maybe a middle that needs a little extra time to get your 30 minutes in. But a headliner shouldn't even be doing a stock joke.
No.
So
it's and I know because I've known you for all these years and I've done my share of comedy clubs too. It's an interesting business. It's an interesting to see how it works and all of that. There was the guy, Les McCurdy in Sarasota.
Oh yeah.
McCurdy's Comedy Club in Sarasota. I've been there multiple times because I lived in Sarasota. And it would be funny to hear him because he would come out and MC his own shows, obviously. And he would do the same stuff, the same jokes, every night he did the same thing. And I'm sure every comedian does the same thing, but they're doing it in different cities. Yes. So it's like you're in front of a new audience every night. When Celine Dion started that trick where she was at Caesar's Palace for a year or however long it was, she did the same set every night in the same place every night, but it was a different crowd. So same thing. Long story short, it was funny to see him deliver those same jokes every time. I've seen BJ Odom deliver the same jokes every time a few times in my life too, I should say.
Yeah, my act hasn't changed in 20 years.
No.
Once in a while, a new joke will pop up here and there, and most comics are like that. But if you're a house MC at the same club, you almost need to work the crowd and do all kind of ad lib, right, throw away, but still have the stuff in the back of your mind, right, to throw out there.
Absolutely, and that's what McCurdy would do. That's what Les McCurdy would do. He would, there'd always be the who's here from out of town, whose birthday is it? Who you can always have those things to play with, and then same old same stock stuff, of course.
Yeah,
awesome.
So that's Comedy 101 from the BJ and Bill Show.
For those of you who are interested in comedy, that's yes, you can go to comedy school. Didn't you do that for a while? Didn't you do the comedy school thing for a while?
And Les does a comedy school, and
right?
he's
yes,
and he's had some graduates have went on to become, some good headliners nowadays. But I've taken a few comedy schools early. And then actually after I'd been around a while and I pretty well knew, how to form a joke, write a joke, I did some comedy schools. So yeah, it was fun. And what we always did, we always had a graduation. So people, could invite their friends. I cannot remember the person's name, but I felt so bad. This was back at the Laugh-In Comedy Cafe. And we did the comedy classes. And then it was the night where you're supposed to, do your material, bring your friends. Well, this guy I think it might've been a girl though. I think it was a girl. And she probably had in the audience, half the audience came to see her. So they are her friends.
That's the good news.
She got laughs. They roared, they laughed, they clapped. She goes, I could be it. I could be it.
Sorry, Alexa interrupted us there. I apologize. Anyway, the young lady got laughs.
She got lots of laughs. She goes, wow, I could be a headliner. Wow, I could be a feature. So like what they call guest spots. Every once in a while at a comedy club, you let somebody go up and, do a guest. And they're not really on the bill, but you let them go up and do a guest spot.
Right.
So she comes back like a week later to do a guest spot, regular night.
Right.
All of her friends aren't there. It's people that are, comedy club people. As we say in the business, she ate it.
I was going to say she bombed, but ate it is worse.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And she come off and she was just in shock.
Devastated.
Like, how could I mean, they love me. And this audience wouldn't even laugh at me. And I go, welcome to comedy.
Welcome to the comedy world. Did you have to have the hard conversation with her, coach, to say those were all your friends and they're going to laugh even at your terrible jokes?
But, some of her stuff was funny. I said, it doesn't happen overnight. You don't go to your first audience and kill and then think you're going to be a headliner or a feature act.
Right.
It takes time.
Right.
It takes a good year to become even a good feature.
Right.
And that's working at it, weekly. And I think she walked away from comedy after that night. As far as I know, I'd never seen or heard of her again.
Life's tough in the big city, kids. Life's tough in the big city. I hear you.
But I've had the nights
awesome.
where I've ate it.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are nights that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, as Carole King once said, and sometimes the blues get a hold of you. But yeah, I get it. But hopefully you keep going and go, well, that was just, I had an off night, or the audience had an off night, or whatever. So yeah, I get it. I do get it. So
yeah,
that's funny.
And sometimes, they're just not, they're just not buying what you're selling. And it may have been something you did earlier in your act or whatever. They're just like, if they've convinced themselves that you're not funny, even if you get funny as the night goes on, a lot of times they'll, of course,
What?
The best place to the best place to get the best critiques on your act is the can.
Is not your family.
Is
what?
The can. Is the can. The restroom. The restroom.
Really? Tell me more.
I have been in the restroom and, just kind of in there, like doing my business, and two people are behind me or something, or over there talking, and they'll go, and you're never like, well, there was BJ, and then there was Bill, and then there was like Sheila. It's always the first guy, the second guy, or the girl, that's how you're rated in the comedy business.
Right. Because nobody remembers names. Right.
And usually 90% of the time you're going to like a comedy club, the headliner, unless, they've done some TV or something, they're the third guy. And one night I've been both sides of the fence, being in the restroom.
You've been the guy.
I've been number two.
Right.
And he just wasn't very funny. And then you're going, oh man, those guys thought I sucked. That hurts my feelings. But then I've been in the restroom, which makes you feel awesome. I thought guy number two, man, he killed it. He was great. I wasn't really impressed with the guy that's supposed to be the third guy, the big guy you're supposed to really be coming to watch.
Right, the headliner.
Yeah, I walked out going, I
was pretty good.
Yeah. Those guys thought I was funnier than the headliner.
Don't hurt yourself. Pat yourself on the back. I get it. Okay, I get it. That's fine. So good. All right, cool. Well, that's life. That's called life, folks. It's called life. And, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I'm sorry. It just is. So there you go. I had speaking of winners, how's that for a transition?
Ta-dum-dum.
I had a thing this morning. This guy, 1 year ago, a 26-year-old British man who goes by the nickname and social media handle, the hardest geezer. At 26, he's hardly a geezer, but he goes by the nickname, the hardest geezer, began jogging from the southernmost point of Africa with the goal of becoming the first person to run the entire length of the continent. And in Africa, of course, that's north to south, because Africa is longer north to south. Yesterday, well, actually, as we record this, 3 days ago, he finished it. He finished running across Africa. Russ Cook is his real name, 26 years old. He reached the northernmost point in Africa, which is in the country of Tunisia. I don't even know where that is. Cheered along by fans that he picked up while jogging his 9,941-mile journey, documented well on social media, of course. In a total of 352 days of running, Cook ran the equivalent of 376 marathons. 376 marathons, and only went missing in the jungle of the Republic of Congo one time. Which, people are probably thinking maybe he got eaten by a lion or something. I don't know. So, Russ, wherever you are truly the hardest geezer, whatever that means.
I don't know, but what's his name again?
His real name is
Russ. No, his real name, his
handle, the hardest hard, like solid, like rock solid, the hardest geezer. Like old guys, like you and I are geezers. So that's why I can't understand why he would use that as a name.
He's going to go blind,
He's going to go blind. All right, we seem to be stuck on one particular gag this week, and that's okay. So see, that's the joke thing is when you're teaching how to do comedy, and we just turned a little bit of a fun story into some comedy there about a guy jogging across Africa. What do you teach people? I mean, if somebody came to you and said, I'm not funny, how do I learn to be funny? What do you tell them? How does that work?
I think there's a lot of, I mean, you can be funny and learn it, but I think it's a lot. I mean, I think it's just a lot of natural ability too.
Oh, I hate that. I hate it when people say you're born with it or you're not. I think you can learn stuff.
But you got to teach them too. You got to teach them too, though, mainly because a lot of people don't understand that. There's always a setup and punchline. If you don't have a setup and a punchline, you really have no joke.
No, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. So a setup is what we just talked about. You asked me the guy's name. I told you he goes by the hardest geezer. That was the setup, right? That's the
that was a
that
setup.
Sets up the joke.
That was really in the business, and as you know, it was kind of a callback because you know what that meant from a prior joke. So it was a setup, but if you would have just said the oldest the
hardest geezer,
and I said he's going to go blind, that would not have been funny.
By itself, that's not funny because you don't know the previous stuff we were talking about.
So if you hear that, and then you use that line followed by the old line.
Right.
And of course, as I've taught you in the past, that is the callback.
Callback, yes. And believe me, I've used that term many times in life now that I learned it from BJ Odom, the callback, which is if you didn't know the previous thing, the current thing is either not relevant or funny or important or whatever. Yes, I get it.
It's like if you watch a TV show, they use a lot of callbacks.
Of course.
They'll have a joke that they've done earlier in the 30-minute, comedy. And then, maybe, 10 minutes in, they do it. And then maybe 20 minutes into it again. It's kind of either somebody else comes in the room and says the same thing. That's kind of a callback, or, it's just basically a rehashed joke that came out twice and made it funny.
And I mention that because I'm back on the dating sites and all of that sort of a thing. So yes, I'm out there, and not every woman, many women are looking for a guy with a good sense of humor.
Send women my way.
There you go. Your wife got her wish. She got her wish.
No, she didn't.
Maybe in that little bit, there's a joke. See, there's a joke. So ladies on the dating, gotta be this. Oh, and have a good sense of humor. Okay, fine. So I kind of have this stock standard line that I will say, among my many superpowers is my sense of humor, because superpowers is kind of a thing now. I shouldn't say kids. Lots of people use that term. It's like, what do you do really well? Well, my superpower is gardening or whatever. So I will say one of my superpowers is humor. And it's interesting. I was going to say funny. It's interesting that it's like, how do you even define that? How do you, tell somebody, oh, I have a great sense of humor. Well, great. That meant nothing until you tell a joke or a story or something like that. That means nothing. But hopefully you can demonstrate that with your however that sense of humor works. And that's why I was asking you, like, how does that work? How do you show that to somebody? It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't know.
You've got it. You've been around me enough that some of it's rubbed off.
Oh, thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. And I do. I tell people that. And I think for me, if I was going to be a comedian, I would be like the Stephen Wright kind of a guy. Who is he even still around? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
kind of deadpan, kind of straight. No, he's I wouldn't be that straight, but just noticing, calling attention to the crazy little things that are out there that we never, like, it passes you by in life and you're like, oh yeah, that is funny that is like that. That's kind of the way my brain works.
That's some ingenious writing if you can do that.
Oh my gosh, he is a genius. He really is. I mean, I'll never be like the Robin Williams kind of funny, which is just wild and crazy and out there and all that kind of a thing. It's hilarious. I couldn't do it. But the kind of like the sharp criticism of finding a word or a situation or a something. And you and I saw a comic like that years and years and years and years ago in Fort Myers, who a young guy who was paralyzed or whatever. He was in a
What what's it? Never mind.
Why
Did you do this to me?
I'm sorry.
Link was his last name. Brett Link, I think maybe.
Right, you might be right. And the funny thing is, I saw him before I left Sarasota. He was at there. Here's a callback. He was at McCurdy's. He was the headliner at McCurdy's, and just as funny, just as hilarious. Same kind of stuff where he would like pick out the little weird things in life and draw your attention to them, and you'd go, "Yeah, that's freaking funny." Now that you mention it, kind of a thing. So anyway. I don't know how we got off on the whole sense of humor thing, but here we are. So there you go.
Well, I got to have a sense of humor because as we finish this on this Tuesday morning to tell our friends goodbye.
Yeah, for now.
After 5 days at Tampa General Hospital,
mm-hmm.
I'm heading back.
Mm-hmm.
I have a heart cath. And I know they'll probably keep me overnight because I don't even have to be there till 12:30.
In the afternoon.
Right.
Right.
And that means if I'm starting to get a little grouchy here, it's because I haven't eaten, and I probably will not eat until after they do their little thingamajiggy.
If I'm you, I'm packing a sack lunch to hear you call back to hear you complain about the food at Tampa General. Call back. I'm packing lunch and dinner.
I don't know though. Usually over in the cast side, and I think I would have preferred that.
Oh,
like they have little sandwiches.
right.
Either ham or turkey sandwiches.
Okay, now I'm hungry.
I would have preferred. Well, yeah, thanks for bringing this up, Bill. but I think I would prefer that. If I could have had that all week, I would have been much happier than the trash they were bringing me.
All right, now we're both hungry, and now it's time to go. So good. I'm going to go make some lunch. You do the same.
And I hope after it's all over, I'm going to need to keep you a couple of days by looking at the way this looks. You know what? There may be, if you hear of, the eclipse had nothing to do, but on a Wednesday, because I'll be waking up again on a Wednesday morning. So when this thing comes out, if you hear on the news people have died in Tampa, you'll know who the murderer was.
BJ Odom going. I'm not really worried about the elderly, frail BJ Odom going on much of a rampage. So I think we're safe. But that's going to be fine. All right. What a wild and crazy show it's been. And maybe we can blame that on the eclipse too. I don't know. But anyway, folks, have yourself a great week. It's going to be better than BJ's week, no matter what you do. So enjoy your week. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe out there. And until then, it's just up to BJ Odom to say,
see ya.